There is growing concern over the welfare of 3 Americans jailed in Russia. Information on the condition and whereabouts of U.S. detainees Trevor Reed, Paul Whelan, and WNBA star Brittney Griner.
But what we were told was to not make a big fuss about it so that they could not use her as a pawn, so to speak, in this situation in war. So to make it like it's not that important, or don't make it where like free Brittney and we start this campaign, and then it becomes something that they could use
this leverage.
That's what we were told.
It's tough. BG is us. We are BG, you know, that could have been us. Given the nature of Brittney's situation, when it happened, it was very important for us to be intentional about doing the best thing to ensure that we don't compromise her coming home.
Public, they say, if this were an NBA star like Brittney, that it would be daily news. Do you think a gender issue is at play here?
I mean, when is it not?
Please know that getting her home safely continues to be our top priority.
Brittney Griner remains in Russian detention, and the U.S. is still subscribing to the playbook of less is more. The publicly released details about Griner's case are sparse. This may be due to a desire by the U.S. government, the WNBA, and her family to keep matters quiet for strategic reasons, or for other factors, such as racial disparities in missing persons coverage. But what we know doesn't support the theory that this is just a routine arrest, printed NBC. However, at the WNBA draft, Brittney Griner's name was invoked by many with one very simple message: bring her home. Engelbert addressed the media before the league's draft in New York and mentioned Griner, who was the league's #1 pick in 2013, right away in her opening remarks. ESPN's coverage featured much talk of her detainment, as it should, with coveted media member Holly Rowe doing a piece on the 7-time All-Star. Human rights lawyer Jasunia wrote, "The timing is suspicious. Griner was detained in February during Russia's preparations to invade Ukraine. Then the news about her detention was concealed. Russia released the information only later, on March 5th, at one of the highest points of tension between the U.S. and Russia in decades. And Griner was purportedly denied consular access, a basic right of any foreign national in detention, until March 23rd. We also have no independent verification that the cannabis oil charges the Russians have leveled at her are true. Of note, Ben Siegel reported White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told Karen Travers, ABC News' White House correspondent, that Brittney Griner's family has not signed a privacy waiver to allow the administration to discuss her situation more freely, so there's that piece of information. Info on her condition continues to be sparse as the U.S. government navigates complicated diplomatic terrain with a Russian government that engages openly in human rights abuses, wrote Yahoo Sports' Jason Owens. Her detainment was reportedly extended last month until May 19th as the state continues its investigation. If found guilty on transportation of drug charges, she faces up to 10 years in prison. Credit to Naya once more for putting the perspective in place of Griner's arrest. State-sponsored hostage-taking is a truly global problem, and it requires a robust global solution. As a country deeply affected by hostage-taking, the U.S. should start by reassessing its hostage-taking prevention and accountability strategies. The Obama administration undertook a major study of U.S. hostage policy, which resulted in a stronger interagency framework to support families, including the creation of a special envoy for hostages at the State Department in 2015. Hostage-taking needs to be recognized for what it is: a series of human rights violations in contravention of globally recognized rights. It isn't just a political scuffle in which a series of hapless victims are collateral damage to big power politics. Rather, foreign states that take hostages are violating their international obligations under human rights conventions like the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which many hostage-taking states, including Russia, are parties to. These conventions prescribe unlawful and arbitrary detention, mandate due process guarantees and fair trial rights, and prohibit torture and other cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment. Legal redress should be pursued individually and collectively on all of these grounds to the fullest extent possible. Family members of detainees or detainees themselves, once they are freed, should petition international, regional, and national courts and UN bodies. Zooming out from individual cases, the problem of global hostage taking should also be legally addressed in the aggregate as a pattern of state behavior by international and national prosecutors who can charge these cases as crimes against humanity. Unfortunately, options to hold states legally accountable are severely limited by long-standing principles of state immunity, which prohibit individuals from suing states. The U.S. and Canada allow victims of hostage taking to sue states, but only if those states are included on lists of state sponsors of terrorism. European countries have no exception to state immunity for hostage taking, not even one limited to specific states. Increased legal pathways to hold states accountable can have a deterrent effect, especially when money damages are involved. Brittney Griner is in Russian detention and may be there for geopolitical gains wholly unrelated to any of her actions. Only when the world comes together to condemn the growing problem of state-sponsored hostage-taking and coordinate a legally binding and internationally recognized response will this negative trend come to an end.